Okay, let's talk about self-imposed suffering. This is part 6 of the State of Things series. Okay, so every year I do a channel, the annual channel from the Council of 12, where my clients actually sit with me and they get to ask questions from the Council of 12. The Council of 12 is a group of beings, master beings, that actually come through and they help to raise the vibration of this reality. And so they do so through various people. I am not the only channel for the Council of 12, but they do so through various people. They use their way of speaking, they use their vibration, yada, 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 this and that. And so my guides, I just channeled a few weeks ago, and their message was about self-imposed suffering. Self-imposed suffering. And people were like, what in the world is that? Right? Is you creating situations for you to continue suffering over and over and over again. Okay. Now, self-imposed suffering is also part of being conditioned. So think about your foundation and think about what you were born into. Now, no foundation is perfect, meaning that there is not a family that is here that hasn't had some type of challenges. And if it's not financial, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be spiritual, it could be whatever. But basically, we're all born into a foundation that has its own challenges. We're conditioned to believe that whatever perspective that we were taught or shown is factual. This is the reality. And whatever it is that we go through, whatever we experience, then it has to be true. It has to be right. And that's not true. It's not true. Anytime that we allow ourselves to stay in a state of being that is adverse to us in any form is self-imposed suffering. Anytime that we don't have control over the aspects of us, it can be self-imposed suffering. And for example, they use the analogy of our inner child coloring on the walls when the child is in control. If you think about your life and you think about all the times that you put yourself in situations that were unhealthy for you, that were not good for you, that you stayed too long at a place trying to understand, it could be a job, it could be any type of relationship, but anytime that you put yourself in situations where it was adverse to you, it was the child coloring on the walls. Okay? So the child coloring on the walls is basically, in childhood, children equate attention with love. And if you give me attention, I don't care if it's negative, if it's positive. As long as I have your attention, then that means that you love me, right? So in adulthood, think about an adult throwing a tantrum, arguing, fussing, laid out on the floor, doing anything that they can to get attention, right? But oftentimes, you'll know when the child is in control is because you will find yourself in situations seeking attention, and you know these situations are not good or healthy for you. Prime example I always use is relationships, romantic relationships, where you find yourself back in a situation and you know that person wasn't good for you, and so you choose to suffer. You go back and the child is coloring on the wall. Or a good example is these young ladies getting flued out, and then they wind up in bad situations, and It's the child coloring on the wall, wanting attention, like see me, see me, see me. I'm worthy, I'm lovable. The other part to self-imposed suffering is being the victim. Is being the victim. And I have a couple of books that I've written that I'm in the process of finishing editing. One is about self-love, and one is about darkness, being in that deep state of dealing with the shadow self. And I talk about victimhood in those books because victimhood is probably one of the worst states of being that you could possibly be in, because fear thrives off of victimhood, and adverse energies thrive off of victimhood, and victimhood is self-imposed suffering. When you find a person who is constantly putting themselves in spaces that are harmful to them, when you find someone who's always complaining and they always got a pity party and they want you to whip out their tiny violin, like literally they thrive on getting the attention and the sympathy from others by being the victim, they are not in a good state of being at all. They're in a state of self-imposed suffering through victimhood, through fear, and they're basically giving up all of their control in their life. This self-imposed suffering is something that when one person refuses to acknowledge the possibility of change or escape from a particular situation, they don't want it, because all they know is if I'm this way, then people are going to pity me and they're going to help me. And just think about the person that be calling you for money and shit all the time or whatever. They always got a problem. Always got a problem. They just need a little help. Just a little help. Literally, you are only one possibility in the realm of possibilities. I'm going to give you an example. There's a guy I used to date, right? And he had an uncle. And his uncle was on SSI or something or whatever. He had just whatever his monthly income was. And so what he would do is every month he would get paid and he would trick off his money. So he would say literally he'd get some prostitutes and he would get him some beer. And the next thing he would call the guy I was dating and he would say, hey nephew, I my light's about to go off. This and that. And he would do the same thing each month. And he would tell him what he did with his money. Until one time, the guy I was dating, he decided this next time he was not going to give him any money. And guess what happened? He didn't give him money. And his uncle was okay. He made it through. He figured it out. But if you get caught up in the idea that you are this person's only person that can help them, you fucking yourself over. I did that before. And I did so to my detriment. Actually, I did it more than one time, thinking I was being Captain Save-A-Ho, and literally fucked myself royally multiple times in this lifetime. But I got it now. I totally understand it now. You are only one possibility, and don't ever be that cocky to think that you are a person's only option, because literally you are just one option in the grand scheme of things, right? But back to self-imposed suffering, that victimhood thing will follow you through your life, and you got to be mindful of that. I'll give you another example. So when I was a child, I got hit by a truck. And once I got hit by that truck, I noticed that my siblings were kind to me. I learned that if I get hurt, then people will be kind to me. So that went from that. Then I wound up jacking my arm up on a bike. I tore my ligaments in my ankle, had a cast on my leg for 3 months, went back, got it for 3 more months. It was just like, I noticed when I really understood victimhood and I went back and looked at everything, it's like I kept putting myself in situations that would garner sympathy, empathy. Like somebody would show up and give me attention and show me that they cared about me, right? So I'm telling you guys, be careful of that because it puts you in these bad situations. So literally pay attention to why you're doing these things. Why are you imposing suffering upon yourself? And why are you choosing to be a victim in this lifetime? Literally, it's the little child you screaming for attention, and you can easily connect with your child version of you at any time. It's totally up to you. So, yeah. So, again, if you're interested, visit Kijana Unplugged for the upcoming Fundamentals of Healing and the Earth Realm series that are coming up. And I will be continuing with part 7. I'm sitting here just giving you all whatever information is coming to me to share with you all. So that's it. But this is the state of things right now in this reality, and it's giving you back some power, right? You have the power to use this information and power to make the necessary changes. Peace.